Prices have jumped 5% over concerns about the Middle East after Biden spoke. A rise in prices could be hugely damaging for Biden's Vice President Kamala Harris as the Democrat front when it comes to the Republican former President Donald Trump in a November 5th election, where the cost of living is going to be a major issue.
Have been escalating, especially in the first week of October. Now, this is after we saw a very negative trajectory in the month of September, with prices hitting a multi-month low. Now, crude prices are up over 8% since Monday itself and are now trading around $77 per barrel, where on Monday, they actually hit a low of $69 per barrel before the strike happened. And this uptick is mainly caused on the back of escalating conflicts between Iran and Israel. Now, yesterday, we saw Brent crude, which is the global benchmark for oil prices, surge over 5% intraday after the U.S. President Joe Biden told reporters that the U.S. is still discussing whether to support the potential Israeli strikes against Iranian oil facilities. Now, to give you more context, Iran is quite important in terms of global oil market supplies. It produces around 3.2 million barrels per day, or 3% of the global oil output. Meanwhile, Israel said it did bomb a dozen of Hezbollah targets in Beirut on Thursday, and this was in retaliation to the 200 ballistic missile strike. Now, the impact of the rising oil prices, well, it was also seen in the stock market yesterday, with shares of major oil companies like Hindustan Petroleum, Bharat Petroleum, and Indian Oil falling 4 to 7% in trade, as higher oil prices actually stand negative to these companies' marketing margins. So to sum it up, yes, you're seeing an uptick in oil prices. They're up over 7% in the past week itself. But it is key to note that they are 9% lower than what prices were a year ago. But if we saw the same one-year trajectory, even a week back, we were still 20% lower. So yes, there has been an upsurge in oil prices.
Right. Thank you so much, Mehika, for getting us all those details. And of course, it's the Prime Minister who held an urgent meeting of the government's topmost decision-making body, the Cabinet Committee on Security over the Crisis in West Asia. The committee, comprising the Prime Minister, the Home Minister, the Defence Minister, as well as the Finance and the Foreign Minister, along with the National Security Advisor, discussing in detail the fresh hostilities in the Middle East and the sharp escalation after Iran's ballistic missile attack on Israel. Now, India has urged all parties involved in the conflict to address all issues urgently and through diplomacy and dialogue. New Delhi has also gone on to say that the ongoing conflict must not take a wider regional dimension. And we have Zaki Zaidi, West Asia expert, joining us to get us more on this. Let's just focus on the problem at hand. We already have seen that oil prices have risen by 5%. What is the impact that this issue in the Middle East is going to have on other countries, particularly India?
Hi. First of all, India has many expatriates in the Middle East, and the worst fear of this war is that this war may possibly spiral out of a very large-scale regional war. So the life safety and security of the Indians there is a paramount, and I think in that backdrop, the meeting was held. Prime Minister Modi held the meeting of the cabinet. The second thing is the oil prices. It's very likelihood that if the full-blown war starts, the Houthi rebels and Iran, in the Strait of Hormuz, they have this influence to disturb the oil shipping lines and other commercial shipping lines, and disturbing the almost 20% of the international trade that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. So these are the two main things that concerns India as of now, and India has said that diplomacy is possibly the best option, but I don't think as of now, after the strikes on Israel by Iran, Netanyahu and the right-wing government in Israel is any mood of diplomacy or escalating down. And the threats of striking Iran's oil facilities and possibly nuclear reactors. So Iran has also threatened that it will just engulf all of the Arab states, wherever the US interests are, wherever the Israeli interests are.
Right. When we talk about, of course, the rise in petrol prices, of course, also, what was really high on the agenda as far as that crucial meeting that was chaired by the Prime Minister as of yesterday, this urgent meeting that took place, also the impact when it comes to trade, navigation and other supply, whether it's oil, petroleum, but also its products.
Correct. Uh, so so everything as of now, like we are just waiting for the countdown. Like we don't know what level of like the scale of war it could be. Iran has already threatened that in any case of war, if Israel retaliates against Iran's legal retaliation of killing of its leader and attacking its interest in Lebanon and in Iran killing of Hania, they are going to retaliate very strongly. And they are not just going to retaliate to Israel, but also the oil interest of Americans and Israelis and shipping lines and everything that across the region. And as we know, like 20% of our trade flows through the Strait of Hormuz. And Iranians, for very long time, they have threatened that they are if they are pushed into the corner, and they're gonna disrupt the Strait of Hormuz. And they already have their ally in Yemen who can disrupt the shipping lines in Red Sea. So of course, like almost 22 a quarter of trade, global trade, gonna disrupt it, and it could spiral out the oil prices globally.
From what we're hearing is with Israel reportedly targeting the successor of Nasrallah, the chief of of the gang Hezbollah. When we talk about what impact is this going to have? Iran is perhaps now going to retaliate further, and this is what is being said, that Iran is perhaps going to be retaliating very soon.
Uh, See, Nasrallah was the leader of a different league for Iran. Hassan Nasrallah and rest of the leaders, like they don't like the killing of Hassan Nasrallah was the final pushback for Iran to retaliate. But of course, like since Iran also understand that whole of the top leadership of Hezbollah has been compromised, and Israelis have pinpoint location of most of its top leaders, and they will continue keep targeting them. So I don't think so. Like Iran will retaliate for the killing of Hashim Saifuddin, was the purported new leader of Hezbollah. But one thing I would like to mention here is um, Iran will definitely, and like other countries, will definitely may say about this attacking a very densely packed and populated area with tons of weight of bunker buster bombs, and like dead just bodies just evaporate, because if you're targeting a building and like 4 or 5 building blocks are just flying away because of the sheer capacity of the bomb. Like just to target one person, like 500 people are the collateral deaths. So it's not no way justified under international law or human rights law, or humanitarian law.
Right.
So
Now,
that's
this
gonna
is also talk about the United States and the role that United States can play when it comes to the widening and the escalation of the problem at hand.
see. United States, if we see the role of United States, like for since last October 7, when this all conflict started, there has been like parallelly Biden administration has been saying like putting the red lines, but Prime Minister Netanyahu keeps crossing that red lines. So I do not think like there would be like any sort of a scope for diplomacy, sort of to say, between the Iran and Israel. Israel is definitely going to retaliate and things going to escalate, but the fear was that the possibility, because Netanyahu wants to drag Americans into direct confrontation with Israel. Uh, but as of now, the signaling from the administration, from the Biden administration, that they are not going to directly involved with their military assets and like that, except for the defensive purposes. But most of the like the intelligence and details, like the targeting, coordination, everything is like very being closely, done with the Americans and their European allies.
Right. Of course, some reports are also suggesting that Israel could be targeting Iran's nuclear facilities, but that's something that the United States has said that they will not be supportive of.
Yes, United States like previously has said so much of things that like it does not support, but it does not support does not mean that like they can really rein in Netanyahu, the like an Israeli government. If you remember, when the war in Gaza was going on, and 2-3 months back, like Netanyahu and his administration used to say that Rafah is a red line. Okay, no ground invasion in Rafah, and then they started with like very targeted operations and like that. And now you, after down the 3 lines, you know what happened. Like they like parallelly the administration keeps saying that we don't support, but they don't have any actual real influence over Netanyahu, or they don't want to influence Netanyahu and like parallelly just say that okay, diplomacy is the option and do this, do that. But the what the Israeli government wants to do, they go ahead and do it. And this is a golden opportunity for Netanyahu, because it's been his decades-long dream of like targeting Iranian nuclear sites. But I have to like mention here like many of the very critical Iranian nuclear infrastructure is below the ground. Okay, so Iranians already knew that like one day or the other that like time would come, like possibly Americans or Israelis, they're gonna target their nuclear infrastructure. So they, for example, there is a facility in Nantaz. Near Tehran, and some in Qum, and in one in Isfahan. Most of this infrastructure is like below the like it's underground, and it's in huge depth. So it will be worth seeing like how much impact does it does. But there are like of course like civilian energy producing power plant and oil infrastructure and other routes that can be impacted in the strike. But we are yet to see like how it unfolds.
Right. Thank you so much for speaking to us here on NDTV. Of course, that crucial meeting that was chaired by the Prime Minister discussing very key issues regarding the impact that the war between Israel and Iran could have on India. Well, with that, we're slipping into a very short break. Back with a whole lot more. Just stay with us.